I'm Israel Wayne, and today I'm delighted to have a longtime friend of mine, Dale Mason. Dale and I first met professionally, long distance, I think in the mid 1990s. At that time, he was working for an organization that was promoting creation and other Christian resources. And I want to go back and let him tell his story professionally, just to kind of bring us up to date about how you got involved in Christian publishing, Christian media, Christian ministry. What led you on that track, and where has that led you today? So first of all, thank you, Dale, for being on the podcast, and then we look forward to hearing your journey.
Thank you, Israel. And if I were to give you the journey, it would be more than this time allotted here. So let me just give you the ultra highlights. I came to know the Lord as a young person, and really there were several pivotal points in my young life where God got my attention in another way, and my relationship with Jesus definitely grew through my early teen years, mid-teen years. Had an auto accident at one point where God really got my attention, and that's been a standing stone in my life. As I look back, as I get up every morning in my life, I realize that God's not through with me yet, and because I could go through an intersection and everything's over, and that did not happen. Back when I was 17 years old, God decided that He wanted me to hang out on Earth, this part of eternity, for quite a while longer. And so that was at age 17. When I was about that same age, I attended a church with a Sunday school class that had a strong teaching on creation. And that led to my involvement in getting a creation film into a public school classroom. I got kicked out of biology class as a result of introducing that film into the biology class. That's a fun, interesting story in and of itself. And then basically the young lady who I knew, who I got that film from, was part of a film-making family. That was the Taylor family of Films for Christ. And when Films for Christ needed a marketing guy, just at the end of my college days, Karen and I, who was Taylor, now was Mason, Karen and I took up roots from, at that time, Indiana, moved to Arizona, where we joined Films for Christ, which had been founded by her father, and her father had died of cancer several years previously. So I came aboard within the family ministry there of Films for Christ, and was with Films for Christ for about 13, 14 years. Wonderful, excellent organization. They also run ChristianAnswers.net. I was involved in film reviews and various things with Films for Christ. And then from there, I think that you and I actually met while I was at Films for Christ, at least verbally, Israel, and I think you were about 17?
Yeah, for sure.
You were selling magazine advertising.
Yes.
For your families. Yeah.
Homeschool magazine, yeah.
What is the name of that magazine again?
Homeschool Digest.
Homeschool Digest, right. And yeah, we took several ads in Homeschool Digest back at that time. I ended up at Gospel Communications, which was in Muskegon, Michigan, and it was there for several years. And then the Lord, through a series of incredibly interesting but too long to tell circumstances, got a hold of my attention and my wife's attention, and we made the move from Michigan, from Gospel Communications to Answers in Genesis. And I've been at Answers in Genesis as a vice president in various capacities now for about 16 years. My current title is Vice President of Media and Product Distribution.
One of the things that I have interfaced with you on there at AIG for over the years a few times is Answers Magazine, and some of our listeners will be subscribers and be familiar with that magazine. And tell us about your role there, because you were director of publications there for quite some time.
Yeah, and I actually grabbed one because I was hoping it might come up. So yeah, Answers Magazine. If you're not a subscriber, oh, shame on you, as Ken, and you need to become a subscriber. It's really an excellent publication. It deals not only with the creation issue, but with biblical authority overall, and that's really what Answers in Genesis is about, is biblical authority. My role with the magazine is that basically Ken calls me the founder of the magazine. We sat down together, and right after I had come to Answers in Genesis, I was lamenting that we needed a magazine of our own. And he basically said, great idea, do it. And he put me with a bunch of other people. We all gave up part of our time and other tasks that we were responsible for, launched Answers Magazine, and it's just been a real godsend to many families, to tens of thousands of families over these years. And I'm thrilled to continue to be a part of it.
Our family has always enjoyed that magazine, and there's an insert that is for children. My children always love that. So it's something for the whole family. And then you ended up working on a project that I'm really excited about, that I'm going to brag about for a minute. And this is a book called The 10-Minute Bible Journey. And when you were putting this together, I think we corresponded about it a little bit before it was even published. And I just loved what you were doing because you had a heart to help dads, and I would say even maybe grandparents to some extent, because there are now a lot of grandparents who are taking care of their grandchildren
Right.
on a full-time basis even. And but to help dads in particular to be able to lead their children through the Bible. And I know for a lot of men, that's very intimidating. And I think a lot of Christian men, if they attend church, they probably have heard the idea of doing family devotions or leading their children through the Bible, and they have no idea how to do that. And it's daunting to them. It's scary to them. They've never had that done for them. They have no template. There's no leadership or role model that they can follow in knowing how to go about it. So give me a little bit of the background as to how you started developing this idea and what your goals were with it.
Well, it really came out of my own life and my own need. And on the one hand, I'm embarrassed to admit it because I had been involved obviously in Christian work for years, for a couple of decades, 25 years at that point. And I still did not know the chronology of the big events. I didn't know where the big people, what I would call the most important people, the ones we hear about in church so often, and the biggest events, how they fit together. And as I was 50 years old, my first grandchild had been born. My wife had always, frankly, known the Bible better than I did, and I was incredibly intimidated. And so in our homeschooling family, the result of something like that is, as a dad, we tend to sit back more. Well, mom's got that. I'm not going to embarrass myself. I'm just going to stay out of it. And when I have something that I actually know is accurate, I'll contribute that. And hopefully it really is accurate. And so I was that guy. I was a VP with Answers in Genesis. And I didn't know the chronology of my Bible very well at all. And I sat down with Ken Ham one day, and I said, Ken, we really, as an organization, I'm responsible for product finding resources to get out there to people. We really need to distribute a book that tells people the chronology of everything and does that in such a way that it communicates apologetics, that affirm that the Bible really is true, that affirms young earth creation. And we really need that. What is that, Ken? And in the back of my head, I'm thinking that once I get it, I'm going to read it real good. But Ken and I sat there for several minutes, and bottom line was, he says, Dale, it just doesn't exist. There are a bunch of different books out there that take highlights from Scripture, but boy, integrating apologetics and doing it chronologically, it just does not exist. I was complaining and lamenting, and this is terrible. And again, Ken looked across my desk, as he had done years before, and said, well, Dale, you need to write it. You're the one that God has obviously burdened with this need. So welcome to writing kingdom again. So basically, that's how the whole project started. And it was really, I desperately needed. I needed it. I felt the need. Again, I had my first grandchild. I didn't want to go through being grandfather without having a solid understanding of the chronology of Scripture. And I certainly wanted to be able to communicate the apologetics at a children's level, really, that we could do at a supper table, that we could do with my own grandchildren, that I could read to them, or I knew that my own children who are homeschooling families themselves could read to the kids or allow the kids to book. But yeah, it was written with a target in mind of about a 35-year-old dad. The target was really a homeschool dad, because I knew that there were a lot of men like me out there who were in that same position. And I figured that, if I'm honest and if I reveal that this is my own situation, then maybe they would belly up to the table and say, yeah, that's me too. And we've seen that in a beautiful way. We've seen so many dads that are now using this book at the supper table, whether it's once a week or nightly until they get through the 52 highlighted accounts that are in it. But they're coming together with their family. And we're seeing a lot of wives that are very encouraged by it. So that's one way that it's getting used, and that's the biggest enjoyment, I guess, that I have, because that was the target person that I wanted to reach, was dad, and see dad become spiritually involved in the family in a deeper way.
I'd like to share a little bit of my personal story and journey with it. My family did this together as a family, as part of our family devotions, and we decided to go through it once a day. It took us about 2 months to get through it. And what I love about it is it's through the Bible chronologically, but it's also short 10-minute a day lessons. I think we took a little longer than that because we wanted to talk about it. So it's probably 20 to 30 minutes for us because we stretched it out. But it's foolproof. Like if you're a dad who says, well, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to do this, you can't mess up with this book, because you simply read the text. There's some questions that you ask, and it guides you systematically through the Bible. And so it was great for my children to have the overview, because we had been doing some books of the Bible. So, like if we're doing Jeremiah, I mean, you can spend like a long time reading through verse by verse through Jeremiah. But then there's this sense of like, okay, for right now, my children know Jeremiah really well, but they may be losing track of the whole big picture or overstory of the Bible, the big scope of it. So what I like to do sometimes is zoom in, focus on a book, zoom out, and do something like this that gives you the full panorama. What I have found most frequently as we've been at homeschooling conferences, because we usually have this on our book table, is people say, oh, I want to buy this for my 10 to 12-year-old and have them do this. Would this be a good book for them to do for themselves as a Bible study? And I always say yes, in the sense that it really is a great gift that a grandparent or a parent can just give to a child, and they can go through it themselves, do it as part of their own daily devotion. So it works really, really well for that. But if at all possible, I strongly encourage you to go through it as a family, because what
Amen.
you're going to find is exactly what Dale said, that this book, while it's the art and such let me see if I can open it, is beautiful. The whole thing is just really well done. It's high color, glossy printing, really well done. But it's not childish in the text. And I like that you did that, Dale. You didn't make it such that we're embarrassed. It's not a nursery rhyme approach to the Bible. You could read it as an adult if you didn't think of it as a book for children, which is kind of how the publisher sort of marketed it, because I think they knew how most people would want to buy it and use it. If you don't think of it in that way, if you just read the text, an adult can read this book and learn from it. It's not dumbed down. It's simple, it's basic, but it's not simplistic. And
Yeah.
so anyway, I highly encourage anyone, even an adult who feels like I'm a new Christian, I don't know my way around the Bible, man, don't be ashamed to get this and go through it just for yourself, because it will really give you the big panorama, the overview.
Or if you're like Dale and you've been a Christian for all your life and you're 50 years old, hey, it's never too late. It is never too late to really jump into the Word. And it's nice to have kind of a roadmap like this to help you along.
Yeah, for sure. So I know
one
that people
thing.
can get this book anywhere that Christian books are sold, but I guess answersingenesis.org would be a great place for them to be able to purchase a copy, or it's available also from the publisher, which is masterbooks.com. And Dale, just one more thing, before we go here, just what encouragement would you give? Let's say, take this back to dads, about the importance of them knowing the scripture for themselves in order to be able to pass that on to their children.
Yeah, as a homeschool dad, I loved coming home and hearing my children telling me what they learned that day, whether it was from, general academics or from the Word. And my wife was so good at using the Bible and just going through the Bible with them as part of the homeschool lessons. But I missed out. I really missed out because I was too embarrassed. I let my pride get in the way. And so for the lives of my own children, and because I didn't really jump in the way that I should until they were out of the nest. They were generating grandchildren for us by that point. And so that's a regret that I have. And I just encourage you, if you're a homeschool dad right now, don't get to age 50 still saying, I'm gonna get to know my Bible a lot better, at least in the basics, real soon, because that was something I said to myself every single year, basically at my birthday. And then the busyness of business, the busyness of ministry, the busyness of family just always was allowed to get in the way. And I did not take the time that I needed to. Once I jumped in to this book as not only a Bible study for myself, but also as a project that I knew was going to be made available to others. You know what? I found the time. Again, it took me 5 years to study and write this book, just because I really did not know the basics the way that I needed to know the basics. And there was no way that I was just going to look in somebody else's books and write down the basics. I needed this project to change my life in terms of the way that I understand, know the basics of the Bible, and can communicate with others, including my wife and my own adult children and now my grandchildren, about the big picture of Scripture. So that would be my solid encouragement to dads out there. Don't put it off. Find the time. It's one way or another, you've got the time. Something has to be prioritized. And, once I made that priority myself, I've benefited so greatly from jumping into the Word that I did, the way that I did.
Well, Dale, you've done a great service to all of us in compiling this book and putting it together. And I'm really picky about what I promote. I'm picky about what I recommend. I'm picky about what I endorse. I'm selective about what I have on my own product table, and this is on my own product table at Family Renewal. So we want families to get this, and this book has been a blessing to everyone that I know who has picked it up and has used it. I have heard 100% positive response from it. So
Wow.
Again, we just encourage folks to grab their copy of the 10-Minute Bible Journey. The subtitle here is The Big Picture of Scripture in 52 Quick Reads by Dale Mason. So Dale, God bless you. Appreciate you being on the Family Renewal podcast.
Israel Wayne, God bless you, and Brooke, I appreciate you both so much. Thank you.
All right, thank you.